There has never been a more important time to move in a vegan direction. Whether you're ready to start, restart, or re-energize your vegan or plant-based practice, this podcast is for you. I'm Michele Olander, life coach, vegan, ADHD matriarch, travel lover, and smoothie loather. And I know that it's the details that get in the way of your vegan journey. But I like to believe that the obstacle is always the way. So every week we meet here where I translate the tools of life coaching and Stoic philosophy. I bring you actionable tips, some laughs, interesting guests, and vegan ideas for everyone at any age. All to help you veg your best. Episode 261. September is back to vegan month. Hi, my veg your bestie. It's Michele. 5 years ago, I started this podcast, and I don't think that it's a coincidence that I started it in September. I had been kicking around the idea for a bit back then, and there's just something, about September that says yeah, okay, we'll start it in September. I had been vegan for about 5 years then, and I was ready to re-energize my vegan practice, to go public in a way that was, it's still sometimes uncomfortable, but it was really uncomfortable back then. But I thought I might be of service. I thought I might somehow be able to resonate with folks because I remembered all the things that made me think it was too hard, too late, and it wasn't going to make enough difference if I went vegan. But there's just something about September, right? It's in the air. It makes certain things just feel more possible. Like we're just ready. Like we're ready for something new. New notebooks, new sharpened pencils, a fresh start. So my question today for you, my veg your bestie, this week, this month, is what would it mean in your specific case for September to be back to vegan month? And not with any guilt or judgment for how it's been going so far, because we are all of us in different situations. We're in different moments of our vegan or plant-based journeys. We're in different areas of capability with this practice. And it's not because you've fallen off some wagon this summer, right? Because first of all, we all know by now, there's no wagon. There's no wagon. We've talked about that any number of times in these 260 episodes. But because September is, I think, for so many of us, the perfect time to reset, recommit, and reimagine how your vegan lifestyle is going to look. That's food, that's fashion, cosmetics, your bookshelf, your schedule, your agendas, even long-time vegans, those veteran vegans among us, even for them, there's an opportunity. There's an opportunity, I think, to see what options and possibilities there are to engage in a new way this fall. And we all do know this, right? We all know that this is an absolutely critical time for all of us to be as engaged and proactive and curious and use as much critical thinking as we can to be citizens, consumers, and leaders right now. So, September back to vegan could mean, in your case, it could mean back to basics like food, because sometimes our summer routines have been loose or they've been unscripted, and maybe there's been travel for you. Maybe you've been visiting family members and there's been maybe barbecues or reunions. Maybe you were just a little loose about certain ingredients, like maybe dairy, or snacks that you chose not to read the ingredients list on the package. Or maybe Maybe you were in a place or with people that you decided, it's just not possible. It's just not possible to be as plant-based as you might have wanted. But September is saying all is forgiven. Come back. Come back. Get grounded. This is just the perfect opportunity to restock your pantry, and there are so many gorgeous things available in farmers markets for the next couple of months, right? Even up in the north, this is harvest season, and you can find fresh things. That you can find beautiful beans and spices and lentils and rice and quinoa and plant milks, and maybe it's a good time to pick one or two anchor meals, those things that you can just count on, that you can learn to just make from the pantry in your sleep, or maybe some simple plant-based breakfasts for these cooler mornings, like overnight oats or a tofu stir fry. And really think about this idea of a capsule kitchen. You've heard about capsule wardrobes, but what is a capsule kitchen where you could just have fewer decisions, great options, more wins that you don't have to always think about quite so much. And September can also be back to your health routine, to reset your rhythms, but also reset your checklist of what needs to be taken care of this fall. Are we recommitting to walks or yoga or weight training in my case? Have you checked your supplements? I have taken for quite a few years now a brand called Ritual Vitamins. I don't have affiliates. I'm just telling you, there are vitamins out there that are vegan. Ritual's the one I take currently, but there are other ones like Complement, which is really well thought of, Future Kind, and for sure make sure that you are including a B12 supplement. Even if you are not 100% vegan or plant-based, I think you can speak with your physician or your registered dietitian, but all the ones I know like us to include a B12 supplement. And if you're scheduling your health appointments, September is a good month to look at that calendar and see what needs to be scheduled. I have been having a long list. I think you guys know about this. My last year has been lots of doctor appointments, but I've got a bone scan coming up and a mammogram and a colonoscopy. Jealous? But if you are all cut up with all those things, maybe make a note to yourself that when it is time for blood tests at your next physical, have them check your B12 if it's not always included in there. B12 it's good to know, even if you aren't quite plant-based yet, you can be low in B12. And I know when I first went vegan, this is true, I was nervous to tell my doctor that I wasn't eating animals. But I have to be completely honest. There's a lot of talk about how doctors have so little training in terms of nutrition, etc. I never had a problem with any of my doctors. I was nervous to tell them, but all my docs, at least my docs, have been absolutely fine with it, more than fine. And I think it's important that they know. I do. We had a great conversation a while back with Dr. Janelle Gordon, also Dr. Lori Marbus, Dr. Sandy Musial. She's been on twice on the podcast. So if you are nervous about talking to your doctor about the way you've been eating, where you are as a vegan or plant-based person, or maybe you sometimes are, do consider listening to one of those episodes with the plant-based physicians. I think it'll really help. And of course, September is the perfect time to ask yourself, what's a healthy practice I want to start or get back into my daily routine? It's been very hot this summer in loads of places. Almost everybody who I talk to, whether you're in Canada or Europe or California or New England, certainly in the South, it's been hot. So many of us have maybe not been following through on some of those physical routines. For me, it's lifting heavier weights. For a variety of reasons, I've been inconsistent about it. So I think it's time for me to be much more consistent and challenging you. Where do you need to show up a little more consistently back to vegan this September? Now, the joke about fall is always sweater weather. And September is a good time to fine-tune your wardrobe. And if you've been buying fall shoes or thinking about buying fall shoes or a jacket or a new purse or tote, think cruelty-free. Think there are more and more things possible. So think about it. There are some resources like the Good On You app, which rates fashion brands on things like ethics, environment, and labor. And then there's Immaculate Vegan, which is an online marketplace for vegan shoes, bags, and clothes. And, it's not about tossing everything out. It's not. I mean, maybe some people suggest that. I don't. I think it's about making your next purchase align with your values and maybe see if there are new ideas out there that you've missed. Maybe if you became vegan 5 years ago, 15 years ago, 40 years ago, there are products that you just assumed don't exist. I always get compliments on a couple of cork purses that I have, and recently I purchased a pair of canvas espadrilles from the Charleston Shoe Company. So things increasingly become available, and with the World Wide Web, we can find things now that maybe 5 or 10 years or 20 years ago, even though the web existed, it was harder to find. Now, your bathroom cabinet is a very good place to recommit, to get back to vegan. You can try checking labels. Cruelty-free and vegan are not always the same thing. And there's a couple people I've been trying to get on the podcast to talk about this more specifically, and it hasn't worked out yet, but it is an area I want to bring someone in to talk helpfully to all of us about. And there are resources. There's the Leaping Bunny. I think it's leapingbunny.com. I'll put it in the show notes. That lists certified cruelty-free products. And there's something called Logical Harmony, which I have on my list here, but I don't know if I've ever actually used it. But even swapping one or two items, whether it's your moisturizer or your lip balm or, I don't know, your shampoo, it all helps. It all helps. And it's all bringing possibilities together. Maybe you want to just email a brand that you've relied on for a while and ask what they're doing about cruelty-free and vegan issues. Now, the classic September back to school topic is learning. It's learning and skills, and September is for sure classroom energy. So why not a vegan reading list, a vegan learning list? And we've talked about many books on the podcast, but Never Too Late to Go Vegan by Carol J. Adams, super important. Carol J. Adams with Patty Brightman and Ginny Messina, friend of the show, registered dietitian Ginny Messina. There's also a great book with Ginny Messina and Jack Norris called Vegan for Life. I love We Are the Weather by Jonathan Safran Foer. And over 5 years here on Veg Fests, we've had so many authors and creators and documentarians like friend of the pod, Thomas Pickering, who made I Could Never Go Vegan. Or Lucia Grillo from Lucia's Vegan Lifestyle TV series. And there are never enough vegan or plant-based podcasts, right? Your car ride. Your car ride can be a rolling vegan university, or it could be your plant-based coaching certification, your commute, your daily walk. These are fantastic educational opportunities if you want specific ideas. I'm always happy to brainstorm with you, but pick a a book or a podcast or a documentary and let it fuel your September Back to Vegan learning list. Now, let's not forget that being vegan is not just about plant-based food alone or consumer goods. It's also about joy and connection and interaction. And September and October are peak Veg Fest months. You can look at connectforanimals.com. Connectforanimals.com. That's a good resource to check if there's a Veg Fest or a veg event near you. And it's an opportunity to taste new goods and meet other vegans and soak in some vegan-friendly community. And it's also an opportunity to put a vegan field trip into your calendar. And I would suggest maybe tuning into friend of the pod, Rebecca Sawicki's vegan travel podcast, Veggies Abroad, or friend of the pod, Bridie Reed's podcast called World Vegan Travel Podcast. You can be an armchair vegan traveler too, or you could plan a mini vegan getaway just to another city or town, even just a day trip to a new vegan restaurant or an established vegan restaurant that we want to try and patronize and support them and tell them we love them. And on this topic, stay tuned for next week's episode. It's with Kim Giovacco from Veg Johnson Journeys, and she's built her whole business around vegan travel. And if you're just looking for a day trip or a city trip, I recommend Providence, Rhode Island. Just saying. Or make it simple. In your own town or friend group or maybe PTO or family reunion, host a potluck. Or look and see if there's a vegan meetup and maybe an animal sanctuary or some other way to support animals injured or adopted in your community. Because really, it's the fun and the fellowship that keep this lifestyle joyful and sustainable. So the excitement and the energy of back to school can be a big part of September as Back to Vegan month. You don't need to know exactly how it's going to be, who you're going to meet, who you're going to sit next to, what you're going to learn. You just need some curiosity. You need a little willingness. And you need to raise your hand and say, yep, I'm ready. I'm ready for this next class, this next chapter. So this week, I'm wondering if you'd want to build your own Back to Vegan starter pack. You could maybe have one new vegan or plant-based pantry staple or ingredient, one new movement routine. We have to take care of you too, or one cruelty-free product swap or new consumer good that you might want to try or support. How about one book or documentary or podcast that will reignite your inspiration and your knowledge about what's going on with veganism as a concept, plant-based businesses, or all the reasons in terms of the environment and social justice and ethics and industrial animal agriculture that you might just want to know more about to support your vegan choices. Also, what could be more fun than a field trip to a new city to see a vegan Veg Fest or vegan meetup group or the vegan options in a different town? So those are it. Those are 5 ideas for your vegan backpack this September. And let's go back to vegan together this fall. In your kitchen, in your closet, in your bathroom, on your bookshelf, or maybe as a destination for a vegan road trip. Not because you're behind, not because there's something you don't know, but because September is a fresh start. It offers all of us that fresh notebook, that fresh journal, that fresh start, and you get to decide what to write in that fresh journal. And I'd love it if you'd be willing to share with me what you're putting on your list for Back to Vegan Month. And thank you for these last 5 years, my Veg Besties. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing this podcast. Thank you to the guests who've been on. Thank you to the people who've written reviews or taken the time to just reach out to me. And thank you so much to Nancy, my virtual assistant, and to the young man who has talked me through tears and confusion, and Charlie Weinshank. Thank you. You've been amazing to me. I've learned so much. This has been a 5-year education, and honestly, all of us can use our whatever level of plant-based interest we have or vegan interests we have, we can use that as an education in so many different ways. It's not just food. It's not just food. Now, next week I'm talking with Kim Giovacco from Veg Johnson Journeys. I think you're going to love that interview. She helps people explore the world in a vegan-friendly way, and you're going to love it. You're going to love her. I also have personally a couple of trips coming up this fall. Belfast, Ireland, and Liverpool, England in September. And then Warsaw, Poznań, and Berlin in October. So that's exciting. And I'd love it if you'd send me your recommendations and your questions and your ideas for autumn 2025 and for the next 5 years of this podcast. As you and I veg your best and veg my best. Veg Your Best podcast production, music, and editing by Charlie Weinshank. Thanks, Charlie. Before you go, it would mean so much to me and the Veg Your Best team if you would hit subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, or share with someone you think might be interested. Something about algorithms, it helps bump us up a little in the rankings, and that's the best way to help others find the podcast and for us to find our audience. So, until next week, make it easy and veg your best.